Welcome to 90s Gay, where we take a deep dive into queer art and culture from the golden era of the 90s. On this episode, we chat with one of the world's leading photographers and a TV star in his own right, Mr. Mike Ruiz. He's shot iconic images with everyone from Beyonce to Dolly Parton, fashion icons like Iman and Tyra, pop culture royalty like Kim Kardashian and J-Lo. His work graces the pages of Vanity Fair and Vogue. As a director, he's shot music videos for beauties like Kelly Rowland and Erika Jane. A familiar face to reality TV fans, Mike's been a judge on America's Next Top Model and RuPaul's Drag Race, along with starring on Kathy Griffin's My Life on the D-List and his own reality series, The A-List New York, where we first met. On this first episode, we start with Mike's most recent work, shooting the comeback of the legendary Miss Vanessa Williams, before we head back in time to hear about his childhood as a young gay boy who literally dreamed his fabulous life into existence, along with his early work in front of the camera. Ladies and gentlemen, my incredible friend, Mr. Mike Ruiz. So good to be chatting with you.
Likewise, thanks for having me. Good morning, by the way.
I wanted to start off by talking to you about this amazing moment that you're having right now with Vanessa Williams. First of all, amazing music video. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
You guys have history together. Tell me about when you first met Vanessa.
I met Vanessa in 2008, I think it was. I was commissioned to do a photo shoot for a magazine that she was the subject of. So it was, we were kind of put together on in this situation. And we totally hit it off and kind of stayed in touch and kind of stayed friends. And I've worked with her like dozens and dozens of times over the years. So yeah, I've been friends with her for a very long time, and we've worked together for a long time. And I started a magazine with a business partner of mine. We about 4 years ago. So we're actually doing really well now. So like I've been tapping all of my friends to do the covers. So I asked Vanessa back in November if she'd do the cover of the magazine, and she agreed. And we were doing the shoot, and then she says, "Oh, I'm doing some music and." Would you like to hear it? She goes, I'll send you the track tomorrow. And I'm like, sure. She goes, I might do a music video. And, it was all very like casual. Like she was like talking about it like, oh, I'm just like creating music. And, I didn't think much of it. Honestly, like her music's always great. She always does like great ballads and, her videos, I've directed 3 of her videos previously. So, they're kind of simple and, but anyway, I heard this track. She sent me the track the next day, and I kind of lost my mind. I was like, wow, it's not what I was expecting, first of all. And it was just like a great dance track. And, the timing is great. And, I love me like a good old school dance track, especially by an old time. I mean, I don't mean old. I mean, like, a long-standing diva,
A classic
like
diva.
Vanessa Williams. Yeah,
a classic diva. Yeah.
So it was, So it was, like it was just. I got really excited about doing this project, and we did it. We we produced the video and directed it, and then we again, I thought it was great. I love the track. On one hand, I kind of felt like like personally, like I thought, well, this could be like a really huge pop culture moment. But then, I directed the video and, kind of put it to rest. And then they dropped the video and the track in April, at the end of April, and it just kind of exploded. Like, it just started, like, everyone was interested. Like, all these people were, like, climbing on the bandwagon, and now everyone wants to do songs with Vanessa, and everyone wants to, work with Vanessa. So, it's funny how, like, 24 hours can literally change the course of somebody's career.
Yeah.
So now she's doing gangbusters. She's going to London to do The Devil Wears Prada, and then she has like a ton of other projects coming up that have manifested as a result of this latest dance track sensation.
Amazing. Manifested out of Legs. How does the message behind Legs speak to you? I know how it makes me feel when I listen to those lyrics and see her singing that song. How does it make you feel?
Well, she and I are the same like age bracket, so I mean, there comes a point in your life where you think like, oh, is this the end? Is it over? Did I peak? Um, so it really kind of inspired me to think like, like it kind of gave me a second wind. I mean, I've it's not like I was, laying down to die. I was, I'm
No.
still very active, and I'm hustling and doing my thing, but like it just kind of really inspired me to want to do like a lot more. So like now I've taken on all this additional stuff, and it's largely in part due to the success of this track and also the message behind the track, which goes to show you, like she is still viable, she's still relevant,
Mm.
and kind of made me think, like if she can do it, I can do it too. So
Yeah.
I,
And she
you
looks
know,
she
so
looks
I
better
am
than
working
ever.
on this project. Oh my god, she looks incredible. Like she honestly, like in the 15 years that I've known her, she looks the best now,
Mm.
which is kind of very Benjamin Buttons of her, but she she looks spectacular. I mean,
Yeah.
she's size zero, and she's been working out and like taking dance class, and I mean, she can keep up with any 19-20 year old for sure.
Yeah, it's so inspiring to watch. And yeah, she just looks $1 million. Much thanks to you for your part in that too, because as I said, the music video is just spectacular and goes so beautifully with the song. So congratulations on that. I wanted to rewind now, way back to life before photography, growing up as a young gay kid. What was your experience like as little Mike?
Oh, the violins are coming out now. Um, I had a rotten childhood. I mean, kind of classic bullying.
Sure.
You know, I mean, I grew up in the '70s. God, it's weird. I had to do the math there. I'm like, did I really grow up in the '70s? But yeah, so I grew up in the yeah, right. I grew up in the '70s. I came of age in the '70s and early '80s, and I mean, it wasn't very progressive back then. I did grow up in Canada, which was more progressive than the U.S. at the time, but still wasn't open arms
Mm,
to little gay boys.
mm,
So it was tough. I had a tough childhood. It was tough at home. It was tough at school. Um, but my very, very, very rich fantasy life is what got me through. I used to have like these. I literally would go into trances. I mean, my parents thought, had they had the knowledge of like therapy and stuff, they probably would have put me in therapy, right? Because I literally would like sit on the couch with no TV on or anything, and I'd go into these like deep, deep fantasies of like
wow.
me doing stuff in the entertainment industry and like going to Studio 54 and hanging out with all these celebrities, and it's like I was teleporting to it. It was so weird. I mean, I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it sounds like weird, but I
No.
could feel it. I could feel what it felt like to be doing all that stuff. So in hindsight, I mean, I'm telling you this now because in hindsight, I realized that that was the most powerful creative visualization like that
Yeah.
any person can have. Is because I mean, I yeah, I mean, a lot of things. I mean, there have been many, many times where like I would have like these really powerful deja vu moments because I was like reliving stuff that I fantasized about as a kid.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's weird. I'm big into quantum mechanics and quantum physics and all of that, and like time is not linear, and so that
Mm.
plays a part into all of this too. I feel like I was there, but I was here. I don't know, not to
Yeah.
get too you
Yeah. And
know, not to get
the
too
power
weird.
of manifestation. I guess that's really part of it too, of like
Yeah,
manifesting your future.
yeah. I mean, you know that's what I attribute whatever success I might have to because I'd never studied photography. I mean, I just imagined things so powerfully that there was no other option but to have them manifest.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
And
don't know. I don't know if
speaks a lot to
sorry.
your photography style as well, that it has such a fantasy element to it. Everything's so heightened, and it does have that sort of like dreamlike, magical feel to it.
Yeah, and that's when people ask me like, "What's your style?" or what inspires you, and it was it was escapism. As a little kid, like the minute I got a camera
Mm.
and was able to create this alternate reality for myself through photography, I mean, I realized that that's exactly what I was doing. It was like I was escaping into this other world where things were perfect and colorful and super retouched and and it was it was it was a nice place to live. After my rotten, very raw like childhood, it was a nice. It was great that I was able to do that for myself, like to create
Mm.
this alternate reality, and ultimately it led to I mean, that was, my photography was sort of a projection of what I wanted out of life. And ultimately, that's how my life became. Like my life kind of became super glossy and, colorful and super retouched. And everything was, everything. I basically, what I'm trying to say is, I guess art imitates life, imitates art.
Yeah,
Yeah. Does that make sense?
absolutely. Totally, totally. With all the wisdom of a fully grown and successful gay man, what advice would you give to young gay Mike?
I get the, that's the question, right? What would you,
Mm.
I wouldn't say anything because in, my belief in quantum mechanics and physics and everything, I feel like, like if you go back in time and change something, it might affect
Yeah.
all of history and in a bad way or, and I'm so like grateful and happy with the way things have turned out in my life, particularly that I'm too worried that if I were to go back and be like, "Oh, don't worry so much, everything's gonna be fine," then I'll become like I become like a little complacent Mike and just go, "Oh, everything's gonna be fine. I'm not gonna worry about it." But I mean, it was all of that worrying and that need to escape that reality that helped me create this life that I have now. So honestly, I wouldn't say anything to him.
Yeah.
I'd be
And it
like,
worked out
just
pretty well.
figure it. Figure it out. See, and that's the thing too. Like I mentor a lot and I give advice to young people and it seems like everyone wants the easy answer. Like the answer like give me the one nugget of advice that's going to make me a superstar. And there is none. It's like so basically what I try to impart in people is like you have to figure it out. You have to don't ask me, like my advice to you is like figure it out. It's like dig deep and try and figure out what it is you want and how you're going to get it. So many people ask me like, how do you become successful? And the way that I did it is never going to be able to be replicated. Like I did it in such a weird offbeat like way, like unconventional way that there's no possible, it's not a formula. there's no
Mm.
there's no formula to give. So that's what I was trying to encourage, like young people is to not wait for people, not wait for people to give you the magical answer, and not wait for people to, like give you that opportunity. You got to create your opportunities. And that's the other thing too. Like, growing up with parents, I mean, bless their hearts, but they didn't offer me, much guidance or support, and in hindsight, it's the best thing they could ever have done for me because I never relied. I mean, you know, it would have been nice to have the comfort of, loving, caring, compassionate parents, but I didn't. Um, and, the outcome of that for me was that it created, it gave me a skill set that I could figure stuff out. When I was 14, 15 years old, I was figuring stuff out on my own because I knew nobody was going to help me do it.
Mm.
Like if I wanted a car, if I wanted anything, like, my parents were like, you're on your own. So I just, I developed like a skill set of figuring out how to get from point A to point B.
Yeah.
And that's the most valuable. Like literally, I always tell people, you could drop me in the middle of the jungle, and in 6 months, I'll have my own reality show, and my own like I'll have just because I have there's no situation where I can't figure it out. So that's like I was it's always difficult for me when people ask me for advice and then I give it to them and they're like, "Well, I can't do that." Because the one piece of advice that I always tell everyone is that it requires a lot of work. You have to put in the work. That's the bottom line. No matter what it is you want out of life, you have to put in like the 10,000 hours.
Mm.
And people are like, "Oh, really? I have to, oh, that I don't know. I can't do that." I'm like, "Okay, well, there's your answer. I mean, what do you want me to tell you? I mean, if you're telling yourself now that you can't, if you're putting up obstacles for yourself now, I mean,
Never going to happen.
like I don't know what to I don't know what advice to give you at this point. So anyway, I mean, I know it sounds like very it all sounds really harsh, but I deliver this message to people, in a package that's palatable. Like
Mm.
I don't tell them like I mean now I'm being like a little aggro about it, but or when I'm like imparting this to like college students or like I just try to explain to them nicely that you have to take the initiative, you have to put in the work, and you have to figure stuff out for yourself. So that's my long-winded answer to your question. Like, what would I tell myself, and what advice would I give to younger
Yeah.
people?
It's great advice though, because the answers are within yourself. I think that's the thing.
Always,
You search within yourself, and the ability to be a self-starter and self-sufficient, that will make you that will give you longevity, because you will always be able to make something out of nothing.
exactly.
And I think definitely, like, when you look at your career, you weren't an overnight success. You put in the work over many years in many different formats. You started your career in front of the camera. What drew you into the entertainment world, and what were your original ambitions? Was it purely just acting, modeling with yourself in front of the camera, the original dream?
No, it was a step in the ladder. Again, I was trying to figure out how to manifest my childhood fantasies. So I, the automatic go to was like, oh, the way to do it is to become an actor. So that's what I did.
Yeah,
I
because
mean,
that's what you
I
see.
started modeling. Yeah, so I thought, well, that's like that if I want to be in this world and I want to, and I didn't know that photography was like a thing, or that it could have that kind of cachet, or it could have that kind of access. Like being a
Mm.
photographer has given me like crazy access. Like, for somebody who didn't go to college, who does, didn't grow up in the royal family, who wasn't like, didn't grow up in like, didn't have like the support of, my Harvard peers. I just, to have the access that I do is pretty astounding to me. And that's one thing, like I'm super, I pinch myself. Like I can't like, I'll be in rooms with people and I'm like, oh my God, how did this happen? It's like some kid who never went to college, and I figured it out. And that's what it boils down to, is like, I figured it out. And, I'm just grateful that I did, because I shudder at the thought of of your life is an amalgamation of decisions. It's like, like one decision leads to another decision, leads to another decision, and like how I was able to make those decisions and guide myself without any roadmap or guidance
Yeah.
from anybody, is baffling to me. And it's and I'm like just really grateful that I was able to do it, because the alternative terrifies me.
Right. um, Talk to me about your transition behind the camera then. There's a famous story that you were given a camera as a gift, and that's how it all sort of began for you. But a lot of people are given cameras and they don't turn into world renowned photographers. How did you hone your craft and discover your own personal style?
Um, well, okay, this is the ironic thing, So I for years and years, for a decade prior to me becoming a photographer, I was in the mix. I was like modeling, and I was around like big photographers. Like I worked with David LaChapelle and Ellen von Unworth, and what I mean. I had access to to all of that knowledge, and I could have tapped it. But the weird thing is, like, I could not have been less interested in photography. Like I never thought to ask any questions or technical
Right.
questions. Um, it's when I got that camera. Like, a friend got me a camera for Christmas. Um, I don't know what happened. I think there was just the timing. It was the universe was. The universe was timing it all for me, and I opened that camera, and I mean, yeah, I opened the box and took the camera out, and it became the conduit for me to do a lot of things, like to be creative, to escape my reality. I mean, it was just such a powerful thing.
Yeah, in my
Um,
mind, the vision is you opening the camera box and lights just beam out of it. It's like
yeah,
the doors of
I mean that
your future opening.
that's how I remember it. I remember it like light beamed out of the
Yeah.
box, and I mean, because in hindsight, like that's the impact that it had.
Mm.
And I guess obviously I had some predisposition that I wasn't tapping into, or I had some interest, but I don't know, like it was just good timing, and it just that camera became like an IV into my arm of like just everything. Like I don't know how to explain it. It's I mean, I'm trying to correlate it to other people's experience. Like I guess when people get a musical instrument, and they just
Mm.
start playing it, and they're like, oh my god, like this is it, and that's
Yeah.
what the
It's
camera was for
discovering
me. It just
discovering your calling.
yeah, yeah. That's and again, I'm really grateful because I could have not have gotten that camera as a gift. Years could have gone by. The timing could have been off. You know what I mean? Like a million things could have happened. But they turned out the way that they did. And then I mean, I make it sound really haphazard, like, oh, like it was just all luck. But I mean, a lot of um, hard work and focus went into it. Like once I got that camera, and I just started photographing everything in sight, and started photographing people, and then they would show other people, and they would ask me to photograph them, and then it kind of snowballed really fast into this thing where like people were asking me to do all these photo shoots, and then that's what made me decide, like, oh, maybe I can actually be competitive in this field,
Mm.
and let me focus, and then once I made the conscious decision to make it a career, it that's when it got tough. That's when like, oh, that's when I started noticing the rejection, because prior to that it was just I wasn't seeking it. People were just like asking me, do this, oh, shoot this, um and even like some magazines, and I even did like an ad campaign, and I'm like, oh wow, this is pretty easy. But then when I made the conscious decision to do it, I started making appointments to meet people in magazines and stuff, and then there was a lot of rejection, and the reality of things seeped in. But enough positive stuff had happened prior to that I thought, okay, well, this is just part of the process. I'm capable. I know that I can do this, um, and I don't have a plan B, so I gotta give it a try.
On the next episode of 90s Gay, Mike tells us about meeting RuPaul in the 90s. He would go on to direct her feature film Star Booty and music videos like Looking Good, Feeling Gorgeous. Mike spills the tea about the countless episodes he spent by RuPaul's side as a recurring judge on RuPaul's Drag Race. Make sure you don't miss out on future episodes, subscribe to 90s Gay on Spotify, join our community on Instagram, or head on over to Mr. and Mr's YouTube channel to subscribe for future episodes. We'll catch you next time.